All right, so here we are again with another episode of Coffee with the Founder. Today we have an international, global scholar, friend, and brother that's joining us today. Brother Salouhou, we're doing these Coffee with the Founders to give people a sense of the good people in the network of WPC, in our network, who've been supporting us and who've been partnering with us and collaborating with us. So we're happy that you can come and talk about your phenomenal work. Let me start by asking you, who are you? Can you introduce yourself and the work that you're doing?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., for giving me this opportunity to address the WPC family. You know, it's a large family now, almost 21 years now, right? Adults. So, you know, so many people, and I'm sending my love to all of you, from all the way from France, okay? So my name is Mahamouda Salouhou, and most people will call me Dr. Salouhou. And I was Cameroonian born and did my study in France. And today I work as a faculty member at the University of Washington in Seattle for a few years, and then moved back to Europe, start the European Center for Leadership and Entrepreneurship Education. And today I'm also head of two universities, one in Senegal, one in Cameroon.
Now, Salouhou, can you tell me how this has happened? Now, did you grow up thinking I'm going to be the founder or the president of a university? I'm going to be Dr. Salouhou? I mean, how did you get to where you are today?
Well, you know, I would say, it's a miracle, basically. It's a miracle. You know, I grew up in a typical young African, as a typical young African. Basically, you know, my mother being the first wife in a family, though she was divorced. You know, basically we don't divorce in Africa. In my tradition, the husband just tell the wife, pack up and go. And she was rid off, she was dismissed when I was 12. Then I became a street boy, right? I was stealing to eat, you know, lying to eat. You know, there was a time, during those time in my days, I will wake up, my project of the day will be that first meal, okay? So this was me back then in one part of my life. Then, you know, my uncle, the younger brother of my mother, came out of the army as an officer. You know, he was the lieutenant. And that's when the sister asked, can you give a chance to one of my children? So he took me and, you know, sent me to school. And that's when I started understanding the value of school. Up until then, you know, I didn't see any value in schooling. I was busy in my survival mode, right? So, you know, did study and received the Cameroonian government scholarship. That's another story, to study in France. And then later on, got my 3 master's degree. And then later on moved to America as a visiting scholar. And I did also my PhD while in America. So then, you know, went back to France and started, you know, this European Center for Leadership and Entrepreneurship Education. Now, you know, going back to the question, I didn't grow up saying that I want to be entrepreneur or scholar or what have you. Throughout my life, I have been hit by people. so many people have done a lot of wrong to me, starting from my own family. When I was from the poorest branch of a poor family in Africa. You just have the picture. Now look at when you go to Africa, those kids who are trying to steal your money or rob you and run and all. This was me, okay? But, in that same token, many people at one point have helped me. Some people will come and say, young man, come here. I'm providing you food, but be good, right? So when I did the inventory, I was at the peak of my career, did the inventory, I realized that it's a human thing. There have been Black people who have done a lot of wrong to me. My family, some of them have done wrong to me. White people have done wrong to me. But again, at the same time, you have a lot of my family members who did good to me. Black people who did good to me, white people who did good to me, etc. And I realized that at the end of the day, we are dealing with humans, okay? So basically, we as humans, we want to feel respected. We want to feel valued. We want to feel included. And we want to feel loved, basically, right? So, when you start hitting your 40th years, you start asking some fundamental question. What is my purpose in this life? By then I'm married and I have children. I have career to the level where I never expected I will get. I never expected that I will get on an airplane, let alone have a, high school diploma. So you are like, there was a time in my life where now you start asking some real questions. So that's when, went to Senegal to spread the good word. I went there to talk about education, etc. I met with the Minister of Higher Education, Professor Marie Tounian. And back then, I was trying to sell him on something, okay? Basically, I wanted to show him how some of the programs that we are doing were good, and he should adopt that. And he looked at me in the eyes and said, hey, in Senegal, we are ready to welcome you to start your own university. So what I mean, I never thought about starting university. But what you have been doing is building programs, helping people get jobs and all of that. So that's when the idea about starting a university came into. And I would say here to our audience is that, we are a member of a large family, that is WPC. The conference is sad that the COVID-19 hit and the conference has to be canceled. But one of the opportunity about coming to the conference also is because you get to meet with different people. And some people, 5-minute conversation could change your entire life, right? So coming to those conferences, those exposure opportunity, I went to Senegal, because I was invited and I was the conferencier there. I was the keynote speaker. But, this opportunity to go and meet with the minister, 2-hour meeting, changed the entire course of my life and my family. Now I'm looking at on a bigger scale now. There's a whole continent to educate. We have to bridge the gap between Europe, America, Asia, and Africa. Change the story, right? So basically, that's what we are doing. And Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., you've been there and you've seen it. You are a witness. You are a living witness of what we are doing.
I am. Let me ask you this. What's your sense of what European citizens, American citizens, what they know about Africa? I mean, what's your sense of what they know? And what do you wish they knew? What's missing from that knowledge that you wish they had?
Well, you see, a lot of things are missing. because most of the African that you will find in Europe or in America are the entrepreneur one who have decided to move over, or whom the family have the means to send over, right? But you know, people, I want people to come to Africa, go and visit Africa and make up your own mind and story. There's a lot in Africa that, you know, in 2 minutes, I cannot summarize and tell you anyone about Africa. You know, I was amazed when the movie Black Panther came out, the number of calls that I received from my American folks and even some European folks asking, where's the Wakanda? You know, we would like to visit Wakanda. I said, that's a fictionary village, right? And the country, right? So basically, Africa is so rich. You know, you will find good people. You know, you will find even not so good people, like anywhere. You will find beautiful people and ugly people as well. But you will learn a lot. And, you know, if you go to Africa, you will leave Africa impacted, you know, because you will live with a little bit of African in you, okay? So a lot is missing about Africa. You know, I would say myself, I'm Cameroonian. In Cameroon, you have 282 different languages. I speak about 10 of those. And you mean 282 different languages? That is 282 different cultures. So how could you summarize in one sentence what's Africa? That's an impossible question.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
If I'm trying to get a parent to send their kid to Africa, or even an adult to come to Africa, if you're talking to them, what would you say? Why should you come to Africa? What are going to be the benefits of me visiting or me sending my kid?
Well, you know, today, first of all, there are two benefits out of there. You know, if you are sending your kids, it's a must for the parent to send their kids to Africa. You know, just for the business sake. Let's be more realistic here, okay? So if you look at 1/3 of the known natural resource today, is in that has been discovered today, you know, bauxite, manganese, oil, gas, what have you, right? Silicon. 1/3 of these known natural resources are in Africa, okay? Second, look at from the demographic standpoint, according to McKinsey Global, right? In their report, they are saying by 2040, Africa will have 1 billion workforce, you know, meaning that in terms of demographic, you know, Africa will have the largest demographic on earth. When you look at the demographic progression, that's true, you know, between 2000, 2008, and today. So that's one, meaning that in terms of profession and jobs, right? Definitely you can either source your raw material from Africa, or you will start sourcing your workforce, because Africans have talents. And now with the technology, slowly but surely it's coming, right? So definitely from the business standpoint, you know, it's important for you to send your kids or for you to visit Africa. That's one. On the personal standpoint is that, you know, again, it will expand your horizon, right? You will learn a different way of addressing, of reading events and all of that. You know, on a personal growth, you know, you have to experience it through your own eyes, mind, and feeling, right? Rather than somebody telling you what Africa is. Because, you know, if you interview 100 people about what is Africa, you know, they will tell you 100 different stories that will go from emotional story to fantasy, right? But definitely, I would say Africa is a very rich country full of contradiction, okay? So it's a must go, and you are the living example of that. Okay?
I am. I mean, like you said, 2 minutes is just not enough to describe what happens when you go there. And you definitely laid out two pivotal, critical points in the business and what you learn, the way you see the market operates, the people you meet, the languages spoke. I mean, just the ideas that were generated, that were ignited just from me being there is one. And then secondly, I mean, like you said, you know, the people. I mean, it's just hard to describe what it's like as a Black man, as an American, African, trying to be African American is the way I describe myself. Now I'm trying to get there, and I'm hoping with a few more trips I can get there. But you're right, I can definitely still remember that. Let me ask you about this, because white privilege. We talk about white supremacy, we talk about white privilege, and visiting Africa, you can't not see those issues, know about those issues and the history. What's your sense of how the continent, but even Western Africa, where you're located there, has healed, forgiven, moved forward? What's the work we still have to do in reference to the transatlantic slave trade, white supremacy, and all those complicated, difficult issues associated with that?
Well, you see, you know, I will say I'm a very realistic guy. You know, I'm not a lunatic. You know, revolution do not work or fade up, right? We can decide. You know, we can blame the West or the white or who have you, you know, for our issues, right? You know, there are times where we need to sit down and assess what we have, where we are sitting, and see what we can do. And, you know, one of the beauty of the WPC conference, you know, when you see white privilege conference, you can imagine there will be only Black people over there, right? Trying to lynch the white people. No, it's just a provocative way to bring dialogue, right? Among the human. You are addressing an issue that is beyond any race or culture. You are addressing human, right? And as a human, you know, we have our good side and our bad side. Now, the way we address this within Jagora University, right, is that we are allowing our students, we think, you know, the younger generation represent, by the way, nobody will question this, our younger generation represent 100% of our future, right? So what we have tried, you know, at Jagora University and with ECLEE and my team, remember, is to bring our EU, European, and American students, get them, are they white or Black, and get them collaborate on real issues that African are dealing with, right? So basically today with communication, all right, with social media or what have you, you have young white American or young white French, European that are more African than a Black African living in Africa. So basically, you need to bring people together so that they could work on issues. Because when they are busy working on issues, you know, they get preoccupied fixing something than just saying, you did that to me, my parent did that to, so what? So the example is that our students are addressing you know, one of the first cause of mortality among adults in Africa, that is cardiovascular disease, right? So our students were able to address that, and guess what? I was invited 2 years ago at UC Berkeley to talk about the future of education, the way we do it, we did it, right? Last year, we have one of the elite business school of Europe. The students were able to go to Senegal and work with our students. And it was amazing to see our Senegalese Black student manipulating the white European student on the same issue, and they were taking turn. And this is what we need. It's there. We cannot decide that let's eliminate white people on the surface of the earth, or let's eliminate Black people. We are here. We are condemned to live together. So let's make it a pleasant experience, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like that, man. I think it really, I mean, it's a complicated issue, but I like the philosophy of this collaborative, cooperative effort. And what are you most proud of when you talk about Jagora? I mean, you're still relatively new, but I'm wondering, when you talk to people about it, tell us what really makes you happy about Jagora University.
Well, what makes me happy about Jagora University is that finally we are giving education to those who never thought they could have access to those kind of education. We are saving life. We are saving generations, right? Even though we are still struggling, we are new, because, you know, in Africa, only less than 5% actually, where I was told, could afford some quality education. Here at Jagora University, we are able to break those rules, right? To show that it's possible. And the fact that we are showing that it's possible, Jagora have created babies, right? So we have created Jagora Academy Finishing School in Tunisia. Average, when students come to Jagora Academy Finishing School in Tunisia, it's 6 months. And they usually get 3 to 5 job offers. Instead of, before that, once they graduate, well, they will find job in 2, 5 years or what have you. That's one baby. Jagora have get baby in Cameroon today, right? So, and last year, 2019, in Tunisia, we won the only award by the Orange Foundation. That is, you know, a whole almost $50,000 worth of equipment in Fab Lab, 3D printing, and what have you. You know, because we went to Orange Foundation when they did the call for proposal. We said, look, you know, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and and these are the results. When talking about education, that's the way it is. They say, you won the prize. And guess what? Our Fab Lab today is manufacturing 1,500 masks for the local hospital in Tunisia. It's very little, but I would say when you saw that, you can touch it and feel it, right? And you see our student when you visited Senegal, you know, our student were, you were king. You have royalty treatment, right? Because, you know, they were able to show you the hospitality, right? Because really, I prepared them. I said, this is the founder of the White Privilege Conference, and he's stopping all his activity to come and share his experience. He's here as a window for you to see America, to see the world. And pictures are there to testify the royal treatment, right? That you receive, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I would say creating those possibilities make me so proud.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll never forget those students, and I often revisit those pictures because until I get back to Senegal, it's all I have of those memories. Let me ask you about COVID-19 and how you are doing, you and the family, just how you're taking care of yourself in reference to the quarantine, and what about the families and the communities and the students you work with? I'm assuming they've had to stop and pause a little bit. How are they doing?
Well, I would say fortunately, and I'm very thankful, everybody is doing well. We are respecting the quarantine, and by the way, the family is doing well, okay? The student in Senegal and the student in Cameroon are doing well. Now, so what we did is that we reinforced that, and also from the academic activity, we have discovered that today there are things that we knew from the theoretical standpoint, because when the President Emmanuel Macron decided that everybody will be confined starting Monday the 16th, on Friday, I was told by the school that I'm teaching, it's an Ivy League school. They say, look, guess what? Your class on Monday is not canceled. You will do it using either Microsoft Teams or Zoom. And here I am on Monday in a class with 91 students. I have to use my imagination. And I realized that I was able to keep the student engaged. It was a totally different game. Guess what? I took that to Jagora. So for the last 4 weeks, I've been teaching. I have taught over 300 hours of class in the last 6 weeks, I would say, just being at home, okay? So that's from the activity-wise. Second, we have worked with the Cameroonian Authority. We just launched an initiative to grant, 10,000 scholarship to young Cameroonian so that they could do their Lean Six Sigma certification and digital marketing certification while they are confined, okay? That's about $3 million worth of value, and again, this is another baby created by Jagora. I was able to mobilize few friends and say, hey guys, we need your help and let's do this. And this is exactly what we are doing, okay? So, I would say COVID-19 has opened a whole new door and whole new opportunity for us. And we are just trying to see how best we can jump into those opportunities.
Can you talk about leadership? When I say leadership to you, what does that mean? How do you define that? Where did your idea about that come from? Talk to me about leadership.
Wow, that's a complicated question to ask someone like me. Again, because you and I have a long story. We have a long journey. And my goodness, you've been to Versailles.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
You have the King Palace for yourself. I don't know if you share that with the family member of the WPC.
I have not.
No, man.
I do remember.
Don't hide good stuff. The family, man. Nobody is perfect. We'll forgive you. Now, leadership. I've been studying leadership under Professor Peter Kustenberg, the founder of the Leadership Diamond, okay? And, I would say, having spent so much time studying and teaching leadership, I'm at the level where all this knowledge about leadership has become a curse for someone like me, okay? But I would say, to me, leadership, it's at the individual level. It's this ability that we have to create value for ourselves, to create value for our community, to create value for our country and the humanity. Okay, I can also say leadership is being able to have mercy on ourselves. To develop those attributes about leadership, being able to have vision for myself, right? To unleash the creativity that's in me, okay? Unleash the potential that's in me, to access the best version of who I am, okay? It's, it's with forgiveness, education, learning, and also encounter with many people, okay? So I would say leadership is a tough one. Maybe I'm the wrong person to get to answer the question, right? Because I can spend days and days trying to define leadership, okay? So.
But you've given us some good nuggets. I'm wondering, can you do the same for the word entrepreneurship? What comes to mind when you think about entrepreneur or entrepreneurship?
Well, I would say entrepreneurship or entrepreneur is, by the way, just one word about leadership. We are all leader, okay? So we are all leader. Either the environment, or we decide to allow the environment not to become a shackles or an obstacle from our unleashing our leadership. Likewise, with entrepreneurship, is that to me, entrepreneur is someone who is able to go beyond what the obvious. Because when you decide to, we are all entrepreneurs. The child, if you give a couple of wood or, toys or puzzle to a 2 years old, they will be able to come up with something. So we are all entrepreneurs, right? Now, the leadership and the guts to start is what is missing, okay?
Now, when you work with young people, what's your sense of their understanding, their teaching? Are they being taught leadership, entrepreneurship, or is this something we have got to do a better job of? And you have the experience both across the globe and global communities, but also being able to be here in the US. What's your sense of young people and their understanding of entrepreneurship and leadership?
Well, a very good question. Thank you very much for that question. I have worked with young people in high school, young people at college level, even young people at the detention center, right? So basically, and I have taken young American to Europe, young American to Africa, and I have taken young African to Europe, young African to America. So, and I will say I'm able to see, usually there's a saying, I think it's an African or Chinese proverb that says, tell me, I will forget. Show me, I will remember. But evolve me, I will understand. And, our educational system need to be, I would say, need to have the humility to say, to look in the mirror and understand that the generation that is coming today is not the same generation like my generation or your generation. So we need to really have the humility to understand that as educator, it's no longer the time where you come and decide that this is how I'm going to cap the knowledge, what you need to know. No, our job is to give the alphabet, to create the way, basically in education, will it be entrepreneurship or leadership? Our job is to nurture the intelligence of young people. So when success, when I assess in the last 20 years, some of the key elements that were that led to success is that one is, for every group of young people that we have worked with, we start by working on, like you come and do the reset. right, button. Like when you go to the gas station, you have to reset before you start pumping the gas, right? So we did the reset over there, and our reset is, what is the currency of this group of young people, right? Because we have the tendency to come as adults in the room and believing that we know everything they need, right? So we sit down and have a dialogue. What is their currency? Some of them, you will be amazed to find out the currency. When I say currency, I'm not talking from the purely monetary standpoint. What matters to those young people? And you know, a lot of young people that we work with, especially those from the socially excluded community, what makes me wake up and all of that, I want to buy a house to my mother. I want to buy a car to my father, right? So you realize that being able to be the child that is, that is appreciated by the community. And some will be, I really want to show to that teacher that I'm not that idiot. Or I really want to show my mother that she should be proud of me. And you realize that even the studies, will it be entrepreneurship, leadership, and all these are accessory. Because once you understand that, now you know that this is their calling, right? Trust me, whatever material you put around getting those goals, those kids will surprise you beyond what you could imagine, okay? So I would say, as adults, we need the humility. First of all, let's sit down with those young people and listen to what's important for them. Because at the end of the day, I want them to have not only the motivation, but the energy to use all their creativity towards something that's important for them.
So, Doc, what's next for you as you look at your life, the next 10 years, 20 years? What's next? What's on the horizon?
Well. Next, I know it. I know exactly what's next for me. The Nobel Prize for Education. Don't try to look. You have Nobel Prize for medicine, Nobel Prize for economy, for peace and everything, but you don't have Nobel Prize for education. So when I look at my pedigree today, I have impacted the life of over, I would say close to 100,000 young people. I think it's over that, 100,000 young people. Ever since I started this outreach educational activity in 1995, right? So I'm saying, and as the time moved by, this year alone, we are going to impact and change the life of about 25,000 young people, right? 10,000 people in one click. So I'm saying, when I look at my pedigree, in the next 5 years, I'll be talking in millions of young people. And I would say 10 years from now, I hope to say, I have changed the course of the life of 100 million or 1 billion young people. And I deserve the Nobel Prize for Education, or I deserve the ability to ask you to create a Nobel Prize for Education, because from someone whom few years ago, I was stealing to eat. I was on the street. I could have died. Maybe my mother will lose few tears, right? But nobody cares. But today, if you see the amount of people checking on me, Doc, how are you? And all of that, I'm saying I'm something, right? But none of this benefit me because, in the beginning, I wanted to be useful to humanity, right? Because this is one thing that I learned from Dr. Miles Monroe. He said the fruits never eat its own fruits, right? And my favorite fruit is mangoes, right? And the minute that the mango trees doesn't produce the mangoes, guess what we do in Africa? We chop the tree down and fix wood to cook with, and no even funeral, right? But if the mango trees is providing good mangoes, we take care of the mango trees, right? So I'm saying today, education has changed my life and have changed the life of over 100,000 people. So next, let's make it happen. And you know me, I'm a man of action, right? You know that, right? I will spend all my fortune,
without a doubt. If I met you in the airport and you talked about impacting hundreds of thousands, millions, billions, I think this guy may need medication. But I've been there. I've been on the ground. I've seen it. And I know not only is there a commitment and dedication to the work, but most importantly, there is a genuine love for the kids in the community that's not motivated by revenue, but excellence, results. And I'm so glad that we came together, we connected, and I'm really looking forward to the next 10, 20, as long as they'll let us do what we do, I'd love to do it with you. I want to ask you, just because we haven't had a chance to get a global kind of perspective around what's on TV outside of some of our Canadian friends. So is there anything quarantine has allowed you to watch on TV that you would share with our audience that you've enjoyed? And this could be something that was educational or something that was fun. Or is there anything you've read or anything you're listening to that you would recommend as a suggestion for people who got a little extra time on their hand?
Well, I would say, I've been doing a lot of meditation, right? And also one thing that I discover about myself is that I have gotten to the point where I didn't realize that my kids are adults now, right? Living together. My daughter is saying, "Daddy, come here." I say, "How dare you talk to your daddy like that?" She said, "Daddy, I'm 21, right?" And, I surprised my children talking about me like it was a stranger. I'm like, that's how ugly you have become, right? So basically, I will say for those of you who are in quarantine, or we're confined with the COVID-19, trust me, that's a great opportunity for you to do some reading. I try to watch only positive things, even on TV. I will watch people like Sadhguru. He has some good approach, some good short podcasts on spirituality, meditation, on how to see things and deal with your own personal issues. I watch Trevor Noah, basically, he has some critical, controversial, or what have you, but, his analysis, he's good. He has some good analysis on things from global perspective. I could see some of the things that he's doing are relevant to educate people. And I would say do some reading also, okay? Because there has never been a good time to, guess what? We are confined. You can either decide to transform this as a living hell or as a living heaven. Like I'm busy. I'm the busiest man on earth, right? Besides my teaching, I get to play with the kids and so on. But most importantly, the big advice I would like to give is that don't try to escape from yourself. Look inside. Be Jagora. Jagora means shepherd. Be compassionate about yourself. There are things that you have done that were wrong, Don't try to run away from yourself. Face yourself and deal with your own issues. You know, you are not perfect. By no means you could claim that you are perfect, right? And remember, me talking to you here, I have my own issue, you know, that I'm dealing with, right? So, but you know, you can imagine President Trump or Emmanuel Macron, they have their own issues, right? But everybody have issues that they have to deal with, right? But don't transform this into living hell. You know, I would say always think positive and, you know, call a friend, you know, pick up some positive, good friends and set up a routine and all of that, okay? But otherwise, it's easy for you to start seeing everything painted in dark and ugly, and then that's the beginning of depression and all of that, okay? Love yourself, okay? Have much love to yourself, right? Okay.
My brother, if you need me, you just call me and I'm there.
Okay.
I'll look forward to staying in touch. I'm so proud of you, man. And I know you're only just beginning. This is not the end. But I've enjoyed all the opportunities and possibilities that you've opened up to collaborate. And I just owe my transition from American African to African American to you, really giving me that global, particularly continent experience. So I hope we can continue to collaborate. My best to the family, man, and thanks for coming on to talk a little bit about your work, your life. Much love.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and stay blessed and keep it up, because the magnitude of what you are doing, bringing all these people together, connecting them, is wonderful, okay? Don't give up. It's never easy. If it was easy, everybody will do it, okay? So we are there as a family, and thank you and much love to everyone, okay?
Inshallah, my brother.
Inshallah, thank you, thank you.